everyone, welcome back to the Speaking Out Loud channel. I hope you guys are all having an awesome day. So I really want to cover this topic of what human trafficking looks like in 2025. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, you can come hop over on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you can come and hop over on the podcast. It's all called the same, the Speaking Out Loud channel. I like to make it easy for everybody, so it makes life way more easier if you're on the go, if you just want to listen to this on the podcast, or if you want to sit down and watch this while you're eating or doing something else. Awesome. I really just want to talk about what human trafficking looks like in 2025, and you know it's serious if I'm bringing out my glasses right now and if I have my composition book all about human trafficking, because that's my specialty, okay? That's my niche, right? That's what I like to talk about, and it's unfortunate that's happening, but I like to raise awareness, and what specialists have said in this field, that raising awareness helps us battle human trafficking. So that is what I'm gonna do. I want to bring you guys along with us and to help battle human trafficking. So let's just get right into this. So I just really want to talk about the facts first before we dive into what human trafficking looks like in 2025, the modern day human trafficking, because I feel like if we talk about the facts first, it leaves little to no room for misconceptions of what human trafficking really is, what it looks like, what's going on, and just any preconceived biases. If we just talk about the facts first, then you'll be able to be more aware and have less biases going forth in this video. With human trafficking, what it really looks like today is that it's mainly online, and I know as parents tend to say don't talk to strangers, which awesome, that's an amazing thing, let's keep that going, and don't go to weird guys or girls. You should emphasize girls as well, because girls are human traffickers as well, because girls trust girls, and that's why we're more suspicious around guys. So that's important, heads up. Don't go into the creepy white van. Don't take candy from strangers. Don't go if someone has a puppy and asks for you to help find the puppy. Like, those are great and that helps out a lot. But also we need to talk about it online, because although it is rare that kidnapping happens in person like that, like stranger kidnapping, it still does happen, and that's important. But we need to talk about it online and in-person kidnapping. Like, people you know, you're more likely to be kidnapped by someone that you know rather than just a complete stranger, and you're more likely to be trafficked online than, you know, a creepy white van coming and picking you up and then taking you into a creepy dungeon, right? So human trafficking in the field of online really boomed during COVID-19, during the pandemic, where no one was really out to go around and talk to people, right? So pedophiles really found that also, because a lot of kids were online. They were playing Roblox, they were playing Minecraft, they were on social media, they were on TikTok, because that's where kids just went during the COVID pandemic, because they weren't able to go anywhere else. That's also where the pedophiles go, because the pedophiles go wherever the kids go. I want to emphasize that, of course, that's really where it boomed and why it's still sticking around. And of course, that means pedophiles have found themselves chronically online now. They found themselves a lot online, and that has led to the rise of CSAM. And if you haven't watched my previous videos about CSAM and about sextortion, I'm just gonna break it down, and even if you did, it helps to have a reminder and refresher of what CSAM and sextortion is. So CSAM, child sexual abuse material, is a photo or a video of a child in a sexual explicit manner. That's what CSAM is, okay? And it's either taken by force, fraud, or coercion. So it's someone pretending to be their lover and be like, hey, I just want this picture of you, please. I'll send a picture of me, which is of course fake, right? It's a fake picture. And the kid, the minor, they take a picture of themselves and then they send it, and then they quickly switch up. They're like, oh, I want money, or I want more pictures, or I'm going to send this to everybody that you know, and all your friends, all your family, your church people, like the people who go to church with, they either take it by fraud, which of course is also perceiving someone as something else, like the lover or the friend, and that's how they get these pictures, right? They pretend to be the lover. And also they can now, if you have pictures of your child online through AI, they can make that picture of the child seem more explicit, and it makes it more lifelike. And they send this picture to the child. They're like, hey, I have this picture of you. If you don't send me this money right now, if you don't send more pictures of yourself, then I'm going to post it everywhere. And of course the child is freaking out because it looks pretty lifelike. Even if you didn't take that picture through AI, it looks all too realistic. And sextortion comes when the predator uses the material to force money or more photos through the victim, through blackmail, and that's how sextortion comes into play. Child sexual abuse material, CSAM, is the material itself, and sextortion is when the predator uses that material to further abuse the victim. And sextortion can happen through any age. CSAM is primarily focused on minors, right? Child sexual abuse material. Sextortion can happen to adults and to minors. So that just further clarifies that this can happen to anyone. Although sextortion happens to preteen boys around ages of 13 the most than anyone else, and that's just very unfortunate, and it's just not talked about a lot online that sextortion happens to boys around ages through 13, because boys, they don't really like to talk about that stuff. There's just a little bit of a toxic field around that, and also the media just doesn't talk about sextortion in general. So I really want to put into perspective on how massive this CSAM material is and how fast it has grown ever since. So in 2022, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children has documented 88 million new crimes of child sexual abuse material online alone. And alone in 2022, there was 88 million new documented cases of child sexual abuse material online. That's a lot. That's what I'm truly trying to ingrain into your guys' brains, that it's happening a lot. 88 million alone in 2022, and that's just new material that's been floating online. New material. 88 million. I just want you guys to know that this is huge. This is growing, and if we don't talk about it, then it's just gonna keep on growing and growing and growing and growing. And that's why I've created this channel. That's why I'm talking to you guys, because I want you guys to know that it's just not some figment of imagination and that it's barely happening. No, it's happening a lot. 88 million in 2022 alone. 88 million. And it's further grown. So that's just, I just want you guys to know that. And I really want to further of what human trafficking is. I mainly specialize in sex trafficking, but there's different forms of human trafficking as well, if you did not know. So the United States Department of Homeland Security has defined human trafficking, the most common forms of human trafficking, into like 5 specific areas, and that is sex trafficking, where I mainly talk about, forced labor, that's also called labor trafficking, forced marriage, which happens a lot in different countries, forming countries, domestic servitude, so this is forced labor in a private household, like you hire a nanny and you never let that nanny out. You like promise this victim's family, like, hey, I'm gonna be taking care of this family, I'm gonna be taking care of this victim, I'm gonna make sure that they're fed and that they're taken care of, and actually you're abusing that nanny, and they hardly ever eat, they hardly get to go anywhere, and they're stuck in that household. Or this can happen just to your kids alone. In some family instances where they just feel like the stepchild or one of the particular children less than, so then they use that child as like a slave, like their own personal nanny, but they never get to have any fun. They never get taken care of, they hardly eat, they're just there force and they can't leave. That's what domestic servitude is. Domestic, which is just mainly within the household of their own family members. Child soldiers, which we see a lot in Afghanistan. These are just minors who are forced to fight in these wars and they don't have a choice. They get plucked up and they're like, okay, here's a gun now. You get to go around and shoot people. Wow. That's another form of human trafficking. And these are just the most common forms of human trafficking. There's multiple other forms, but this is just what they see most specifically and the most common of what is going on in the world. According to the United States Department of Homeland Security as well, victims of human trafficking, they normally suffer within these form of categories, which makes them more vulnerable to pedophiles and traffickers to traffic them. So there's psychological and emotional vulnerability, which is particularly kids with disabilities and special needs. They aren't able to think clearly for themselves. They've been harmed through war, so they're suffering from severe PTSD. They crave love a lot, which we notice with kids that are going through divorce, which have the marriages go through divorce, or just abuse within their family. So there's an emotional gap, an emotional growth that they're trying to achieve, like to the feeling of love. They crave love, so the pedophiles, they take advantage of that. Economic hardship, so we notice that with families that struggle, so their parents are working multiple jobs, so they're able to be at home a lot to watch and take care of the kids. This happens in America, and this also happens in different countries as well. Specifically, also, there's a huge burst of human trafficking in the Philippines, in specific areas of the Philippines where it's common to know that there's human trafficking, and they just like, oh, that's just how it is. So there's economic hardship. This also can be from immigrants coming into the country legally or illegally, which the cartels or the other coyotes, that's the slang for people that take them into the border illegally, they will demand money from the families, and if they don't give the money within a certain amount of time frame, well, you have this person, and especially if it's a girl, they can pay for themselves by being trafficked, right? Or they get killed. One or the other. So there's an economic hardship, and they notice that in the LGBTQIA plus community, they are 2 times more likely to be sextorted or human trafficked, which is very unfortunate. So there is a huge disparity within the LGBTQIA plus that needs to be more addressed, that I am seeing not being addressed. They seem to be more focused on other areas, which that's okay, but I feel like this is something that needs to be more focused on within the community, but it's not being focused on, which is unfortunate. So there's a lack of social safety net, so their parents are just mentally checked out, they're alcoholics, they're drug addicts, or they're working multiple jobs, so they're not able to be at home a lot. So these kids really lack a social net of safety, of people that are actively at home, making sure that they're okay, they're doing the things that they need to do, that they're doing their homework, like constantly monitoring them. So if they lack the social safety net, then they're more likely to be trafficked as well. Natural disasters, which a lot of people don't know about. So if there was a tornado, if there was an earthquake, if there was like a huge bombing, like we're seeing in the wars in the Middle East, like in that area, we're talking about like natural disasters specifically, like if there's earthquakes, there's a lot of people that flood in to help, and since there's a natural earthquake and there's a lot of just like people are scattered, they're not paying attention, there's kids roaming around trying to find their parents, the underworld, the underbelly of the world floats up, and they pretend to be these people that are trying to help, and they're, oh, I'll take you to your parents, I know where their parents are, they're in this specific location where all the survivors are, I'll take you to them, and then they kidnap the kids and they're never seen again, and the kids are either believed to be missing or dead because they can't find those bodies, and a lot of bodies aren't found in natural disasters, right? They could be presumed dead, but they're actually being sold in the United States or across in a different country, right? And this also political instability with the wars, like in the Middle East, if there is like an uprising and they're taking over the leadership and there's just a lot of instability of what's going on. The underbelly likes to come up, take the kids, especially if there's wars. Like their parents, they're trying to find the parents, they grab the kids and they're being sold. They feign themselves as someone who's helping, but they're actually not helping. So a lot of people, they don't think human trafficking is as big of an issue as it is, and I'm here to prove you wrong. So statistically, what they believe is that there's 12 million children in the world who are trafficked. 12 million children. Okay, we're gonna say that again. 12 million children are being sold around the world. It's not even okay if there was 1,000 kids that are being sold around the world. It's a huge number, and a lot of people, they can't quite comprehend that, so they suppress it. They think it's not the big issue. It's just happening across the other world. No, America's the biggest buyer and the biggest producer of human trafficking and like sexual abuse material. America is. There's 12 million kids being sold right now. That's an insane number, and it shouldn't even be that. It shouldn't even be that high, but it is. And I want to also emphasize that people who are buying these kids, they should be considered traffickers as well. Oh, I didn't know that they were being trafficked. It's not that hard to assume someone's a minor, right? They don't look like an adult. Their body doesn't look like an adult. They should be charged as well as traffickers because they're actively buying that kid and they're holding that kid against their will. They're not selling the kid, but they're buying the kid and they're holding against their will. They should be considered traffickers as well because they most likely know several traffickers and they know, vast majority of them, even though they may lie, that the kid's being trafficked. Okay, now we're getting into how human trafficking actually happens. I am like fighting for my life to stay awake right now. Okay, human trafficking mainly happens through apps right now and through video games like Roblox. So human trafficking is primarily on the apps of Facebook and Snapchat. And if you guys have been watching my videos, you already know I hate Snapchat with a passion. It is human trafficking and sextortion is so high on Snapchat. A huge issue with Snapchat. I absolutely disdain Snapchat. Snapchat is terrible. If you are a parent, don't let your kid have Snapchat. And if you're a child, delete Snapchat right now. So it's also found in Kick Messenger. It's a newer app. You probably don't know about it. It's not as popular, but it's popular among the younger generation, the Gen Z. WhatsApp, it's another messenger app. Twitch and Discord. Twitch and Discord is where people like to watch people play video games and talk about video games. It's mainly what's advertised as, and that's how they're able to find these kids because the kids, they're like, oh, if I could have the new PS4 or 5, and the pedophile's like, well, I can buy that for you. I can be your friend. And that's what they lead on with. If you do this, and they feign themselves as friends or in their age group, if you do this, I'll be happy to buy this for you. What's your address? I can send it to you right now. I have the money. And these kids, like especially young kids, they fall for it. They're like, wow, I can have this new game because my parents don't want me to have it. Or they don't want to pay for it. And this stranger, this nice stranger, they're willing to buy it. It's so sweet, so nice. See, it's things like that. And LMK, it's like the teenage version of Tinder. Trafficking happens and sextortion happens on there quite often. So you really want to sit and talk to your kids on how they define friendship, because that's important, because that also involves in the online world. You also want to go through their social media, which a lot of kids and a lot of people view that as a form of privacy. But if there's 12 million kids being sold right now, mainly through social media right now, I feel like privacy is not of the importance right now until we get this human trafficking situation solved. And I'm saying this as Gen Zer, as a 20-year-old. I didn't have social media until I was almost 18. I think I was a couple months shy of 18 before I got social media. I wasn't allowed to have social media. And my siblings, my brother just turned 18 and he's had social media, I would say around late 16, 17. And my younger sister, she's had social media and she's gonna be a sophomore in high school. And do I highly approve of that? No, besides my brother who's 18 now, and he's an adult, he can make his own decisions. But my younger sister, who's the ripe age of mainly what pedophiles prefer, 13-year-olds around there, I do not approve of that, but that's okay. We watch and monitor, we're all friends with her, and I regularly check her friends, even though she may not know that, and I know her close friends and I trust her. There's a fine line of maintaining trust with your kids and not losing that trust, right? Because you want them to go to you if something were to happen. And you don't want them to be like, oh, they're just gonna freak out and they're not gonna talk to me. They're gonna blame me and it's all my fault. There's a very, very fine line. And I would think it's highly important for you, before you give your kids social media, to just sit down and talk with them. Be like, okay, if you want social media, these are gonna be the rules. And if anything were to happen, we want you guys to know it's not your fault. It's the pedophile's fault. It's whoever did this to you. It's their fault. It's not your fault. Because 60% of kids, through the Child Coalition, Saving Child Coalition, they stated that 60% of kids would not go to their parents if something bad were to happen. 60%. That's a vast majority. A lot of these kids feel like they can deal with this on their own, and a lot of boys are committing suicide through sextortion, and a lot of the parents don't know until they found their kids dead. Like, that's how important you need to build trust within your family, that your kid feels safe enough to go to you if something were to happen, and that you won't blame them, that you won't get mad at them. It is very, very, very important, and I think I know there's a very fine line of trying to protect your kids and then just losing your kids' trust. There's a very, very fine line, and you want your kid to go to you if something bad were to happen. That's why you're watching this, right? You definitely care about your kid. So there's a high, fine line. So I think it is best to gradually work your way if your kid already has social media. And if your kid doesn't have social media, I think it's important for you as a family to just sit down and talk to each other like, hey, these are the fine lines. You can even put this video up. These are the fine lines. We trust you enough to have social media, but we don't trust the pedophiles on social media. Emphasize that. We trust you, but we don't trust the bad actors on social media. That's a very important line. I trust you as my child, but I don't trust the bad actors. We don't trust the pedophiles. We don't trust the bullies that are out there, but we trust you, and this is why we're getting social media right now. We trust you enough to have it and to post stuff and share your interests with others and your friends and talk to them and meet good people, but there's a lot of bad people out there, right? And like once a week, even have yourself out there. Have your kids look at your social media, right? Because it builds like a form of trust, and it builds that it's not just them, right? Okay, we're gonna go through our social media and we're gonna say, do you actually know this person? Oh, okay, they're a classmate. Okay. Do you know this person? No, not really, but they're friends with my other friends and I don't really know them. But that's how pedophiles work, right? Find their victim, right? They find their victim. They found their preferred victim and they check their social media, which you should always have your social media private for. I don't know why a lot of people don't have their social media private, but always have your social media private. But if you don't, they like to check who you're friends with, where you go to school with, because a lot of your friends, they post where they go to school, which is not so smart. Don't show where you go to school. They like to check where you go to school at. They check who you're friends with, and then they friend those friends. And then if you see that this person that they friended you, that they're friends with all your friends, you're more likely to friend them, right? That's just how social media works. They're like, oh, this so-and-so knows them, so they must be okay, right? They must be safe. And that's how they get to you, and then they start talking to you. They frame themselves as someone of your age, so then they can talk to you. It's just how it works. And several organizations estimate that there's 500,000 active pedophiles online every single day. And you might be like, oh, That's not a whole lot, Melanie. That's not a whole lot. Okay, keep in mind that there's 12 million children being sold right now. There is places in the Philippines which they believe is a birthplace of sextortion. Going into an office job, there's just tons of people right there that are actively trying to find victims to sextort, right? And this is not to frame the Philippines in the bad lighting. This is just reality, and there's literally a documentary on Disney Plus where you can freaking watch stuff about sextortion. So I'm gonna pull out my huge freaking iPad to show this to you. So if this is correct, keep in mind that also they get this stat based on pedophiles that they have arrested, right? Because that's a fact. And a lot of pedophiles aren't found, right? And okay, so if there is 500,000 predators actively online right now, which I would argue is higher, if there's 500,000, but each pedophile, which goes into not all men, the argument, but each pedophile has on average 13 victims, right? Look at how high of people are being victimized. Look at how high. 6 million. And this is just the average of pedophiles of how many victims. Some of them have more. There was a man that was arrested, I think he was a doctor, and he had over 200 victims. This is just the average of each pedophile having 13 victims. Some of them have more, especially if they're traffickers. That's a lot. Like, I can hear a pin dropping right now. That's a lot. And that's just what they think is actively online every single day. And altogether, if that's just the average, just 6 million, right? Not that big of a deal. Just 6 million. Get a hold of yourself. Come on, guys. So, I want to talk about how human trafficking is online and how important it is to know what your kid does online. And the Genesee County does an amazing job. You can watch the videos. They like to do press conferences on the basis of pedophiles that they have found and their new tactics. And you can just search up Go Certificate and you can see their most popular videos. And this is also the information I'm pulling up right now to talk to this video with you, even though I know a lot, but just to have like experts behind this. The main information I'm getting this from is just from Operation Underground Railroad or OUR Rescue in Genesee County. Just 2 places, and they have this many facts that I'm sharing with you right now. Like, that's insane. And I think a lot of people, they view pedophiles and traffickers as this creepy person. Like, we all have a picture in the brain of that creepy weirdo of how we view pedophile. But disgustingly enough, the people that they arrest to be pedophiles are parents, are married couples, and are grandparents. Let me say that again. The most people that they have arrested for pedophilia are parents, are married couples, and grandparents. The things I have seen and heard of grandparents actively looking at a 13-year-old girl and the things that they said they would do to them makes me want to puke. Things I have read and heard. Yeah, that's my grandpa. He's so sweet. He wouldn't hurt anyone. And then hearing what they have texted to this kid is disgusting, and they have a grandchild around the age. And the vast majority of people who have experience, I'm gonna have to say great because I think that's a censored word, the actual word, are through their grandparents, uncles, and their own parents. And there's a lot of kids that are trafficked specifically through their families. Like, their families sold their kid, or it's within the family business, right? They just sell their kid. I think a lot of people don't know that. Single-handedly, families in America and all over the place sell their own kids to get that money. And they look at their kids, most of them, every single day after selling them. And oh well. So if it's not happening within your family, it's happening online, right? So these pedophiles, they will befriend, they'll become friends online or lovers online. And then once they know that they got a good hold of them through the grooming process, they'll meet up in person. And then they will sell that kid and the kid comes back home. Or they will take that kid and the kid is never seen again. It's one or the other. They sell that kid for a certain amount of time for that kid to have that money, or they believe they have no other choice, or they take that kid and they go off because that kid thought it was someone else. In reality, it was a creepy pedophile. Especially if your kid is 13, I would be very, very wary because 13 is the most preferred age. A lot of parents and a lot of kids themselves think that they're way too smart to be trafficked. These pedophiles, they have sorted out a specific way to disarm someone, especially if it's someone that's in need of something. We see this a lot with domestic abuse situations where they found this person and this predator. It's like the first day is an interview, right? They will secretly try to see something. They will be like, oh, they will notice if there's a vulnerability or if there's a need, like a single mom with multiple kids, and they're like, oh, I'm such an amazing dad, I could take care of these kids and you can go and do your work. And especially if they can find that you can easily be malleable, like, oh, we should just go to your place tonight. No, I don't want to, but we don't have to do anything. We can just have some wine and talk. I don't know. It will be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. We can just play some board games. Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then they know that you can be easily persuaded. And then they know that it's very easy to persuade you, and then they know that you're manipulatable, right? You're not going to stand firm. So it's very important, very, 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 very important to not make things about you on the first day. It's to make things about them, like you're interviewing them. Not the other way around. It's very important. Now, I'm gonna teach you guys of the red flags of victims and for you to notice if this is happening to your kid and how they traffic. So, how they traffic, like we were talking about, they find that the victim is vulnerable in any way and they can meet that need. They gain trust. They are very patient. They can wait months and months and months and months until they fully gain your trust, so then they can have you, because then they know if they have you for life until the law enforcement intervenes, right? They feel any sort of need, like I was talking about, if you're a single mom, they will profit themselves as, I'm such a good father, and look, I'm taking care of your kids, and you're able to go to work, and your kids' needs are met. Or, I really want to become an actress. Oh, I have some people, like some family members, who have a foot in the door, and I can totally put in a good word for you. And they make those dreams become true. They will make those dreams become true because then that further solidifies your trust in them. And then they isolate you. They isolate you from your loved ones and from your friends and from people that you trust. Oh, we're going on a trip. It will be so much fun. We're going on a trip. Oh, let's go across to a new state. Let's go to a new state. And it will be okay. But then slowly they turn it on you. Oh, but I've done all these things for you. What have you done for me? I am hurt. What have you done for me? I should just leave, right? Because I've been making your dreams of a star becoming true, and you never thought about my needs. What have you done for me? They slowly turn it on you, and then they love bomb you again after something like that. And then it slowly becomes a reward. Like your brain is trained in that manner. Oh, if I do this for them, then I'll be rewarded, and they'll be nice again. They'll be nice again. They'll become that person that I met that first month. They'll become that person that I met and that I fell in love with. If I just do this, then that person will come back. And then it slowly trains you, because then they love bomb you again. Oh, here's a box of chocolates. Oh, I love you so much. You're so amazing. And they slowly turn it into money. Oh, I have this friend. We're just gonna play together. They like to downplay the word sex. Oh, we're just gonna play together. You and him. Oh, here's some money. Here's some gifts. It's a long grooming process. And then they're physical and mentally, physically, and sexually abusive. And then you can't escape. And then that's how they have full control of you. It's a process. It takes months. It can take weeks. If they know that you are malleable and you can be persuaded on your beliefs, and this is not to victim blame, this can happen to anyone, especially to kids. This is more only about kids. That's what I mean. I care about all victims, of course, but I want to protect kids. And especially with kids, they are more easily able to be controlled, and that's why pedophiles like that. They're more easy to just They like to see their souls break, to be honest. They like to see their souls break and them being convinced into things that they thought was going to be a completely different outcome. So now here's the things that you should look out for your kids. They're always on their phone, chronically checking with every single notification. That could be their pedophile talking. If they don't respond in a certain amount of time, they're in trouble. Habits start to change. They start not being eager to do the sports. Their habits seem to be different. Normally they were an artsy kid. Now they just want to go and shopping. They have all this mysterious money and they want to go shopping. They become more recluse. They're just, especially if they were a vibrant person that was always out and doing things, they're now hiding in their room. They're not wanting to go out anymore, especially with their close friends. They have sexual diseases like STDs, things like that. We're testing them for that. They start showing signs of severe depression, and it's completely severe and you need to act on that very fast. And they show signs of physical abuse and neglect. They're not taking care of themselves. They're starving themselves. You're noticing bruises and they're saying, oh, it was just from a game. It was just from soccer. Like, you're noticing that, which you know isn't true. You're having suspicions of that. This is what I want you guys to be aware of. Like, this is happening. There's 12 million victims being sold. There's 12 million children being sold. That's a huge number. That is a very sad number. And that's why I'm having these videos, so I can help teach you guys, so you can be aware, so you can have these tools, so you can protect your kids. So this won't happen to your kids. It's very important that you guys know these tools and you guys sit and watch these videos or any videos, or look at the Operation Underground Railroad, or look at Genesee County, so then you can learn. Because the information is out there. It can be a simple Google search now. You don't have to be actively searching to know this information. You don't have to be like me, just chronically learning about it. You can just be learning about it a little bit, because even a little bit goes a long way. And I truly hope you guys enjoy this video and that's helped you and given you some form of information so you can protect yourself and you can protect your families. Have an awesome day.